Hey, I mean, that is a good point.
I think we might start seeing some go back. Boy, week 3 was an odd week. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett, Grant Goodwin here. Sideline to Sideline, the 2A edition, brought to you by SI Design and Printing, also Small Town Society. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. But storms hit, swept across the east into the central part of Texas. You had games that were completely stopped. You had games that were stopped and started the same night. You even had some games that were stopped and picked up on Saturday.
Stephenville, Decatur didn't get done till 1:15 a.m. on Saturday morning.
And we're going to talk about that in the 4A game because that's one of those games where you just have to wonder if the stoppage led to the end of the game because one team was kind of in control and then they ended up losing control. In 2A, it seems like for the most part, games either started and played or just completely stopped, like Beckville Harmony. We'll be talking about that one. That's a game that, looking at the score, not knowing anything about it, I was surprised. And then when I found out that the game ended after the first half, I don't know if to be more surprised or what. I don't know. We'll talk about that. We'll also be talking about all the other key games from last week. And then, of course, we'll do some preview of this week. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to week 4. Some huge games here in Class 2A coming up.
We're starting to, we talk about this in this era. Teams play better teams in the non-district, and it seems like even at 2A, it's even more. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of it's because bad 2A teams, a bad 4A and a bad 5A team can still kind of hide some things. A bad 2A team against a great 2A team, that's where you usually get those 70s, so I can understand why they have a hard time finding games. But I'm just impressed with how many 2A teams are playing other 2A top teams this year.
Yeah.
All right, so what we do here on the show is we review the week that was and we preview the week that is. So let's start with the week that is. Where do you want to start, Mr. Goodwin?
Let's go up top and go Sonora, beating El Dorado 39-13. Sonora's running back Edgar DeLuna had a huge game running for 300 yards on just 20 carries.
Yeah, we're seeing that, and we always see some big offensive or some big running numbers, but it feels like this year we're seeing a lot more. To me, what's more impressive is the fact that he had 300 yards on only 20 carries. He didn't have, even at 30 carries, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But at 20 carries, and they still had a wide receiver catch 5 catches for 100 yards, Cam Aguero. You can't get more offensively balanced than that. You've been high on Sonora all year, and so far they've proven you right.
Yeah, 3-0 right now. Things are looking good for the Broncos. How about, Beckville Harmony? Beckville was up 35-18. That game was called when? First half?
At the end of the first half.
Okay, and I thought, just looking at the score here, Beckville putting up 35 points in the first half.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's
and holding Harmony to 18.
I think that's the most impressive thing is, and I don't know what would have happened in that second half. 17 points isn't unheard of.
No, not at all. Especially when one team scored 35.
Yeah, in the first half, and you've got a team with like Boston Seahorn and a Harmony team that can score. But I want to remind people, and you and I talked about this in our big preseason show, in 3A, that Harmony had everybody coming back. Yeah, they made a nice semifinal run, but they still lost 5 games. And were they going to improve on that? And so far they haven't. But for Beckville,
they haven't played the easiest of schedules.
Well, no, they haven't.
3A.
But you would think if they're we'll get back to Beckville, but if you would think that Harmony's this will not stay on. If you would think that,
over there?
Yeah, a little bit. If you would think that Harmony's supposed to be back as a 3A semifinal, they should beat Beckville.
Yes.
As good as Beckville is. And now let's turn to Beckville because this is a 2A show. I love the response Beckville has had since that Timpson game because it had been real easy to be like, okay, well, that's it. They're in our region, and barring something weird happening, they're probably we're going to have to go through them again. Since then, man, they have dominated, and they've dominated good squads. And I will still say that Harmony is a good squad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They'll make some hay in 3A, and I think they'll make a little bit of a run in the playoffs again. How about Stratford 57, Gruber 26? Stratford ran this up to a 38-7 lead at halftime.
Wow, I did want to go back real quick.
Oh, yeah.
I just realized this. The leading passer for Beckville was Jacoby Williams.
Was he really? Stud running back.
2 of 3, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 54 yards. So maybe that's the difference going into the more Wildcat with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about they were at times trying to force the ball to him. Well, if you just give him the ball every game, and it'll also allow him to find other guys.
Move him around a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Anyway, what were you saying?
Stratford 57, Groover 26. Stratford got up to a 38-7 halftime lead. Stratford's quarterback Bryce Braden ran for 120 yards and went 11 of 19 for 265 yard passing. So Bryce Braden had a huge game.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that 38-7 lead, and then they give up 22 points, something like that. After they kept the gas going offensively. Julio Valdez on defense, 14 tackles. He also had 2 passes for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. I always love those. Again, like 10 carries, 300 yards. I love the big stat lines. 2 catches, 153 yards. I mean, that's that. I know back when we played,
it's like a 75-yard average. Yes. I'm not real good at arithmetic, but
it's a long way each catch.
Yeah.
but you know, back in our day, a wide receiver with 2 catches for 153 yards and 2 TDs was probably all district.
Oh yeah,
you're going to be an all
future
district.
Heisman.
Yeah. Stratford will take on Vega this week, and then Perryton, and then they'll hit that district. And it's a district that's been pretty good so far. 1-2A Division I. They've got 4 teams that are 3-0, 1 that's 2-1. They'll take on Sunray. That's the Stinnett West Texas Comanches. They take on Sunray this week, so we'll know a little bit about them. So real good start for the Elks. We had talked about them 2 weeks ago when they beat Sunray. That was a little bit closer than we thought, though. Sunray's actually proving to be a pretty salty team this year. But good win for the Elks. Toller, we talked about it. Dallas Christian, just a different beast. And also with Peyton Brown not playing, it was going to be tough. Even if Peyton Brown played, he's a great player, but I don't know.
What was that, 37-6?
Yeah, 37-6. I don't know if he's 31 points better, but it would have made it closer. But you know, as we kept saying, that's just when you get into the private schools and they're looking to play public schools, that usually means they feel pretty good about themselves.
Right. All right. How about Albany 41, Seymour 14? Albany's Chip Chambers threw for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns. Adam Hill, another great game, 326 yards on 24 carries. Kason Fairchild had 122 yards receiving on just 2 catches. So another receiver doing it big on just 2 catches.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about them here in a little bit as well. As they're
Albany just not looking like world beaters again.
Yes, and you know, for all the talk of all the other teams and how, you know, in Division II, how Timpson looks and Refugio and all that, and then you look at over here. I mean, Division I, you look over here and you just see Albany, and they look as strong as they did last year. You know, we can debate if them beating Mart was an upset or not. If they were to play again this year and Albany wins, there's no way you could call that an upset.
Right. And they got a big one this week as they'll take on Hawley, who just polished off Eastland 33-20. Keegan Abel's quarterback 13-22 for 191 yards passing, and Landon Sikora ran for 117 yards on 13 carries. So both Albany and Hawley are already looking prime going into this week's matchup against each other.
Yeah, this is one of those. In fact, Albany the next 2 weeks. I mean, they've got Hawley on the road, and then they go and play Comanche on the road.
Wow.
And we're going to be talking about Comanche in the 3A show and in this show here in a little while. Comanche, that defense this year has been just absolutely lights out, and that's what they struggled with last year. So I always love when you see a team that they have a bunch coming back from a unit that at times struggle, and we always joke, okay, you have 9 coming back from a bad defense. Do you really want all 9 of them?
Right.
But maybe Comanche has figured it out. Last year, that was a great game. In fact, in Albany's state championship run, their only 2 losses were to Hawley and Comanche in these next 2 weeks. So it's going to be a fun one to see how Albany bounces on that. Let's talk Timpson Dangerfield.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk a little bit more about this in the 3A too. Dangerfield suffered one of the worst bad lucks just that could happen this week. Their quarterback got in a car wreck, and I've heard he's basically out for the season. I don't know if it is official.
I don't know if it's official, but
from what we've heard, and it's been verified
that backup, though, he's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Dangerfield's deep, guys. And Timpson I know this sounds weird in a 33-26 game, but the Timpson defense showed up a lot in this game, especially. And I don't know if this game went to the full game either. I haven't found out if this was one of those that was called, but I like seeing Timpson having to be in a dogfight that matters and to see how they responded.
Yep. All right. Speaking of defense, how about the Centerville Teague game? Centerville outlast Teague 7-6.
Now, let me check that because that just sounds like, and they were kind of in that.
I think that one went 4 quarters.
It did. Wow.
I think so. Yes.
I don't know what to think about that. I mean, you and I both are pretty high on Teague in 3A. But I would have thought Seagoville would at least been able to put some points on the board.
Seagoville.
I mean, Centerville. Sorry, Seagoville.
Like, wait, am I looking at the wrong game?
I know
the Dragons.
If the Dragons are in 2A, they still wouldn't be good. But anyway, but yeah, I mean that. I don't know, man. Maybe that's just one of those games where these two teams just slobber knocked it in the middle of the field.
Yeah. I thought Centerville would win by 7 to 10 points, and no way did I think this would be a close game. I thought one team would, I don't know, stretch it maybe a little bit more. I had Centerville, but I didn't think it would be quite like this. I thought there would be some more points scored.
Well, and Teague on the year, they gave up 21 to Rockdale, but then they shut out New Waverly and now have given up 7 to Centerville in the loss. I know it's 8-3A, but you were high on them at the beginning of the year. And really for Malakoff, I think Teague's really going to be their only competition inside that district. It's not the strongest district. For Centerville, good win. We'll talk a lot more about them here coming up because they've got a humdinger of a game coming up.
Mm-hmm, they do. All right, Love Lady 55-0, a 12. This is kind of some quick hitters to close it out here. And then Alpine 19 week 18. Wink playing up a class this week. Maybe a little depth got them. But I think that is a good showing for both teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. And week now 2-1. They've got Sundown next week, and then they start district play. Hey, that's right, folks. We're week 4. District play for some of these districts are going to start here in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, that is the review. Now let's turn our attention to this week, and let's go on the preview. And it's going to be some of the teams we mentioned because we're just that's how it is this week in 2A. And let's just go ahead and swing it back over to Centerville as they've got Mart this week. And we haven't talked a lot of Mart. And I actually got somebody asking me why. And it's the same thing that we tell people in 4A when it comes to Carthage. When you're playing who you're playing in the first half, and it's not their fault. Nobody will play Mart. They just got to take who they can get.
Right.
And you're winning 37-19, 48-8, and 49-7 over teams that aren't really that great. There's just not a lot to say.
Yeah. Who wants to report on a 56-0 game, 70-0, or whatever, right?
I mean, unless it's a matchup of 2 top 10 teams and one of them but when it's the best of those 3 teams was Marlin, and heck, they didn't even get to play week 1.
Exactly.
Now we get to talk about them though, because this is going to be a battle with Centerville.
Yeah, it is. Look, Centerville, they've got 2 really good quarterbacks in Andrew Newman and Santal Hawley. But Mart, 2 excellent running backs in J.D. Bell and DeMontrell Medlock, and then their quarterback, Jonah Ross. They can put up a lot of points. Mart can, and their defense is pretty salty as well.
Well, this was a game last year that Mart won 21-20. Mm-hmm. And I want to say Centerville went for 2 and missed it trying to get the win. So this is as even as Mart's going to get in regular season. They've got –
because they're, Centerville, Tigers have a very salty defense as well. This is 2 defensive teams that can also run the football.
Yeah, Centerville in the year has given up 6, 20, and 6. And that's 20 was against Crawford. And if I remember correctly looking, I think a lot of that was after the game had been decided. I like Centerville in this game. I know it's on the road. Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow.
I look at last year's game, and it was 21-20, and I think Centerville is just as good. And I think Mart's just as good. And when it's a 1-point game last year, you're just picking straws at this is definitely the 50-50 toss-up type of game.
I like Mart in this one. Not big, but 7 to 10 points.
I have no problem with that. This is one of those true, it could go either way. Another one that I think could go either way, and I think a lot of people have slept on it, is Cooper versus Collinsville. This game is in Cooper, the Bulldogs. They're 2-1. Their one loss was to Hooks. You got to see Hooks this week, so and you didn't get to see a full game. But give me an idea. And I know Hooks is 3, but just to calibrate, what were your thoughts on Hooks from what you saw in that Winsboro game?
I thought they're well balanced. The Walls kid at running back, he's a beast. They got some good receivers. The quarterback that came in as a backup, he's really good. But going back to this game, this is two different styles of football teams playing. This is what I love. Cooper loves to run the football with Adrian Maps at running back. Their, I believe, quarterback Cannon Ingram averages 6.7 yards a carry. And then Markel Smith. I mean, they're just loaded for bear, and they will run the ball down your throat. Whereas Collinsville this year with everything quarterback in Logan Jenkins. Collinsville's quarterback, Logan Jenkins, has already thrown for 1,170 yards in just 3 games.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's 3 games where he was sitting out some of that because they won 48-20, 51-14. And then last week got a shutout, 27-0. He's got one of the most balanced wide receiver crews in 2A with Carter Scott and Reed Patterson. And then you got Colin Barnes. And you have that perfect where
Rylan Newman,
Rylan Newman's another one. And he's going to come out of the backfield. But you got like Carter Scott. He's your 6'2" guy. He's the guy you're going to go to on the fade passes when you need a first down. But then you've got your Reed Pattersons and your Colin Barnes, the smaller, quicker guys. You get them in space. You get them on those little tunnel screens. And I'm telling you what, the Pirates last year, and a lot of it's because of the region they're in, had a very quiet 12-2 year. They did get throttled by Albany in the semifinal. It was 66-34, but that was a game that was they went tit for tat for about a quarter and a half. And Albany was just special last year. They beat Windthorst in that region final 32-28. They felt that they needed to improve their defense, and so far this year they have, but this will be the real test. Oh, yeah. Cooper's going to score. I think this is one of those games where it might take 40 to win, not because the defenses are bad, but because both offenses are so good.
And this was over in Cooper, right?
Yeah, this is over in Cooper, and that's a fun drive from Collinsville.
Yeah, not too terribly bad, but
it's just where it's at and where you got to cross.
Man, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this one. I might go Collinsville in a close one here.
I kind of like Collinsville in this one as well.
We'll see what that Collinsville defense is made of, especially that run defense.
Yeah, and if Collinsville is to break, I think that's where it is. I think they're going to be able to score. Cooper has a good defense, but you don't look at Cooper and go, man, that defense suffocates. Or that last year they won the game 33-21. And they did, again, the hardest part about Cooper, except for this game and the Hooks game, but I know they won last year, but that's a 3A team. Then you've got Honeygrove, and Honeygrove started off 2-0, and they had a game canceled not last week or this week, but last week because the lights blew out. So, but you just don't really get a true test of what Cooper can do until they get into that third round of the playoffs. So I'm really excited, no matter who wins this game, because we can get kind of a calibration on both of these teams, but especially Cooper on where they're going to sit inside this Region 3 to 2A Division 1.
I know this is 2 back-to-back weeks of tough sledding for Cooper, right? Because Cooper had Hooks the week before and then Collinsville this week. So can't say the Bulldogs are dogging any competition.
Yeah, it's just that's it on their schedule. They beat Lone Oak last week 47-27. Now
that was the week before.
Yeah, it was the week before. But
Cooper or Hooks.
But Lone Oak's an improved Buffalo team. This is not your 1-9 Lone Oak. They're
still not the.
Yeah, they're 4-6 is going to be a really good year for them, but they are on the upswing. But yeah, Hooks and Collinsville, and then after that, outside of the Honeygrove rivalry game, it's just you just don't get a lot of true understanding of what the Bulldogs will be.
Right. How about Toller and Comanche? This should be a really good one. Toller's got Isaac Blessing at quarterback, who's a dual threat. Peyton Brown, as far as I know, he's not playing.
Yeah.
Again, right. Kelvin Murray, though, the running back freshman, I believe, has stepped up and filled in for Peyton Brown. And then Comanche's going to answer with Layden Welch at quarterback, Sawyer Wilkinson at running back. Man, what a game this would be. I like Toller in this game because I think Toller is a little bit more physical up front on both sides of the ball.
If Peyton Brown plays, I agree. If not, I like Comanche.
Do you?
Depth and defense.
Okay.
Comanche,
I'm taking Toller either way in a close one.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. But Comanche last year felt in this game is one of them. They lost. They gave up 45, and then they gave up 50 to Bells. And that was their only 2 losses. And outside of that, their defense played really well. But talking to their coach in the offseason, he talked about they understood that, hey, if we're going to win the big boy games, we got to play big boy defense. And
Yeah.
I think Toller is a perfect representation of what they're going to see at the end against the Bells, because Bells isn't going anywhere, folks.
Right.
I know everybody thinks, oh, they found the last brother graduated. That offensive line is still really good. And when you run what Bells does so successfully, it's a plug and play.
Mhm.
Once the sophomores and juniors figure, their right gaps and all that, they're going to be perfectly fine. So I think for Comanche, this is a big, huge test for them to see if they've grown up into big boy football. And I think, especially without Peyton Brown, I think Comanche could end up winning this by a couple touchdowns.
All right. Albany and Hawley, big game on the docket. I think this game and Centerville and Mart are the two big ones.
Yeah, it's 2A to 2A. Well, and Cooper and Collinsville. I think
that's a big one too. But Albany and Hawley, man, who are you going to take in this one? Look, Albany has Chip Chambers at quarterback, Adam Hill at running back, Casey Fairchild at receiver, Hawley, quarterback Keegan Abels, Landon Sikora at running back. Hawley got the best of them last year, I believe. This year, I think I might take Albany in a close one.
Yeah, I just think Albany. I think Albany's just a better team this year. Hawley's still a really good team, but they lost a lot from that state championship team, mainly Austin Compton. Mm-hmm. But they also lost Roddy Hooper and Will Scott and Casey O'Shields, and it's going to take them a while to rebuild. And you could see that at the beginning when they lost to Jim Ned. Now, in saying that, we kept telling people in 3A, Jim Ned's better this year. They've proven that with how they beat Holiday the very next week. But then 2 weeks ago, they kind of struggled with Lubbock Roosevelt. I know Roosevelt's 3A, but they're in a new coach, a new system, all that. You'd have thought that they would have been able to score a little bit more. And then last week, they beat Eastland by 12. And, man, Eastland's just not Eastland anymore.
No, they're going through some things, which schools that size do.
Well, I know, but we were all believed that, hey, last year was literally Coach Morton's youngest team. He ended up retiring, before the end of the beginning of this year. But we felt, oh, that's his youngest team ever, and they just need to figure it out.
Yeah, and
they still might. But I thought they would come out a little bit more. And the way they've played in other games, I just feel like Hawley is a step back. I actually think that the only reason I'm not going 21 points is probably because it's at Hawley, but I still kind of feel like, I don't know, Albany feels like they're at the beginning of their state championship and more. Hawley feels like they won their state. Now they're going to take a step back for them, and there's going to be some growing pains, and I have a feeling this is going to be a growing pain.
All right, one quick hitter before we close this one out. Bremond versus Holland.
Yeah, this is a game, Holland last year for them took a step back. They were 6-6, but man, they returned like 16 starters from that team. Mm-hmm. And this is a program that's used to winning 12, 13 games. And I think they're back at that spot. Bremen last year, they were 8-3. They returned 19 starters. A lot of people have high thoughts of the Tigers. And then they go out in early season, but they go and get beat by Kearns 27-26.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
That's just I would like to know about that one, because
Kearns is always athletic, though.
Yeah, Kearns is perpetually, them and Crockett and at times Center, they're perpetually that, man, why do they not do better than their record type teams? And maybe this is that one, where they caught them, because but then the very next week they win, but they beat Mildred 28-27. Mm-hmm. That's just, I don't know. That's a weird, as far as calibrations and stuff, that's a weird one.
I'll still take Bremond in this one.
I got Holland in this one.
Do you? Yeah. Calling the upset, huh? That's my two surprises that you've picked today are Holland and then Comanche by a lot over Toller.
Again,
that one,
if Peyton Brown's not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, Toller, look, without Peyton Brown, Toller is still a really good team.
Yeah.
But I think Peyton Brown's the guy that takes them past a couple rounds into the playoffs.
I just think physicality and size for these guys.
Well, and I'm going on that Comanche address that in the offseason. Maybe I'm buying the Comanche fruit because I talked
Comanche
to him.
cheese.
Now, yeah, and for Holland, man, dude, 9 starters back from last year on offense alone, 6 on defense. This game last year was an absolute shootout. Bremond ended up winning 46-35. I just this one just feels more like it's at home for Holland, and I don't know, upsets in the air. I'm pulling. Sometimes you got to swing for the fences.
Well, you're doing it.
Says the guy who said that Gilmer would beat Kilgore, and you almost pulled that one off right
by
there.
1 point.
By 1 point. All right. That's going to do it for this 2A show. We do appreciate everybody. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, email us, Grant and Terry at s2ssport.com. Excuse me. No S at the end. We want to thank our sponsors, including our title sponsor, SI Design and Printing. Also want to thank before we go, because we also have a show in here, the Munster Oktoberfest, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is one of our favorite sponsors. They've been sponsoring us for a while now between here and September.
We're going to make plans to go, right? On a Saturday?
Yes, going to go on the 7th. We're going to have a blast. That's the great thing is, what that is for us?
That's not the weekend we're doing
That's the next weekend. We get back-to-back weekends of Oktoberfest and then Barbacoa and Big Red down in San Antonio. Oh. Why don't you love our job?
2 great festivals.
Yeah.
And we're getting paid to do this, right?
Yeah, we're getting paid to do this, and we get our stuff paid for. And as long as you don't run up any $5,000 bills at certain places. But anyway, so check out.
Like certain school district
certain coaches of the football, not the football. But check out MunsterChamber.com. Also, you can find Oktoberfest on Facebook. Just type in
$6,000 at the Dirty Sock.
5.
You got it. No, that's what we're going to do. 6.
If we're going to do it, we got to be better, right?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, Brett, just be checking or don't be checking the charges for the next couple of months. Anyway, until next time, he's Grant Goodwin. I'm Terry Bennett. This has been Sideline to Sideline, the 2A edition, right here on S2S, part of L4 Media.